What are the different kinds of miles that you can earn? There's basically three different kinds. There's transferable miles, which is the best kind of miles to go for in the beginning, in my opinion, because these are the most flexible kinds of miles. They allow you to transfer your miles into a whole bunch of different airlines, which means that you can transfer your miles into specific airlines that are best for any given trip without having to lock your miles into that airline until you're ready to take that trip. If you're just getting started with earning miles and traveling with miles, I would recommend starting with transferable mile points and only moving on to the airline specific points once you've exhausted the transferable mile options. Transferable miles are usually issued by banks with the exception of Starwood Preferred Guest. So at the time of this recording, there are 4 transferable miles available. There's Chase Ultimate Rewards, Amex Membership Rewards, Citi Thank You Points, and Starwood Preferred Guest. Some of these cards have multiple bonuses that you can stack one on top of another. For example, Chase has Chase Freedom, Chase Sapphire, Chase Ink. Citi has Citi Thank You Premier, Citi Thank You Prestige. Each of these can earn bonuses anywhere between 15,000 miles to 60,000 miles. In general, it's probably best to have a whole bunch of miles in one transferable currency rather than a few scattered into different transferable currencies. So if you can get the Chase Freedom followed by the Chase Sapphire followed by Chase Ink, so you could have 110,000 miles from Chase Ultimate Rewards, that is better than having 40,000 points in Chase, 40,000 points in Amex, and 40,000 points in Citi. So pick the one that you have the strongest banking relationship with, or if you've had a credit card with Chase for 3 or 4 years, or had a credit card with Amex for 3 or 4 years, go ahead and just pick the one that you have the strongest relationship with and see if you can go ahead and start stacking those transferable miles. If you don't have a pre-existing relationship with any of these banks, Chase, Amex, or Citi, I'd probably just start with Chase, because Chase has a rule called the 524 rule, where if you've opened more than 5 credit cards in the last 24 months, they will start declining you for their credit cards. The other 2 banks, Amex and Citi, do not have these requirements. So if you're going to open a bunch of new credit cards, Chase is the best one to start with so that you're not barred from opening their credit cards later down the line. Second type of credit card is airline-specific credit cards. So these are credit cards like United Airlines' Mileage Plus credit cards, American Airlines' AA Advantage credit cards, etc. These are typically branded with the name of the airline on the credit card itself, and that is the type of miles that you will earn. These miles generally cannot be transferred. They can't be transferred into other programs, and they can't be transferred between family members or friends. However, you can book flights on partner airlines and alliance members. So we'll go into airline alliances in a separate video. But the important thing to know is that if you have miles on United Airlines, you can book flights on any of their partners. So you can book flights on All Nippon Airways, Air China, Avianca, Thai Airways, etc., which are all in the same alliance as United Airlines. However, that is not the same thing as a miles transfer. You are booking through United Airlines on a partner, but you're not transferring your miles to a partner's program, and the rules that govern the flight you're booking will go through United Airlines. And again, airline-specific miles are not nearly as flexible as transferable miles, because transferable miles will let you transfer your miles into a bunch of different airline-specific miles later down the line. So you should only start going for airline miles once you've exhausted your options with transferable miles. The third kind of miles are cash point miles. And these are generally credit cards that come from the credit card companies themselves, and they are not co-branded with an airline. The way it works is that these points redeem for 1 cent per point, and they just use these points to wipe things off of your credit card statement completely. So if you book a flight for $300, you just take 30,000 points, you click on the credit card statement where you bought that flight, and it just is erased from your credit card statement, and it's like they just pay for your flight. So these credit cards are very, very flexible, and they're very easy to use. So you don't have to go through the process of booking a couple months in advance, looking for flight availability. You just book your flight as you normally would pay cash and then just erase that from your credit card statement. So these are extremely flexible, and they let you book flights that you wouldn't normally be able to pay for with miles. More specifically, the local low-cost carriers that do not typically have transfer partners. So if you're in Asia, usually you'll be flying around with AirAsia, which is their low-cost carrier, and it's going to be impossible for you to book flights with AirAsia using miles. Same goes for EasyJet in Europe. If you want to take cheap local flights and pay for it using miles, cash points is the way to do it. Also, you can use cash points to pay for any taxes, fuel surcharges, and other fees that you get that you still have to pay for when you're using other types of miles. So cash points are really, really useful to have in your arsenal. However, their sign-up bonuses are usually worth a lot less than transferable miles or airline-specific miles. So you might earn 50,000 miles with Chase Ultimate Rewards if you sign up for a transferable card, and each of those rewards might be worth 2 or 3 cents. So that sign-up bonus is worth $1,000 or $1,500. With Capital One Venture, you get 40,000 points as a sign-up bonus. Each point is only worth 1 cent, so the sign-up bonus is worth $400. So the sign-up bonuses from these cash point cards are not worth nearly as much as transferable cards or airline-specific cards. However, those points are very flexible, and the earning rate of the points is actually quite good. So if you're earning 2 points per dollar spent, each point is worth 1 cent, you're earning 2 cents per dollar you're spending, which is a decent earning rate for points. So long story short, cash points are good to have in your arsenal. They're not something that you want to stock up a whole bunch on or have a primary focus on, but you do want to have some of them in your point portfolio so that you can cover the different things that you can't normally cover with the different kinds of points.